All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Today we are going to continue from where we stopped last time. Um, we started with our DOM, which is the document object or model. There, we talked about what is DOM. We talked about how to select element on the page. We talked about how to modify the element content. And again, we talked about how you can create and add element on the screen. But I will start from here and get up to here because I must explain all this one today. Because tomorrow I'm moving into events so that we can start working on the content on the page there like that. But these are the basic stuff we need to know before we start jumping into that part. And yes, not yesterday. That's last week. So let me go back to the code. So last week we stopped at this section, which is this append, but I said I was going to explain more or like talk more about this one today. So I'm going to continue from there. So when you're talking about working with elements, the elements that you want to work with, some of them are going to be inside your HTML. That means you are going to type them yourself. While some of them are going to come directly from JavaScript because when you're working with some application, there is no way you know what you want. You actually know the structure of the element, but at that time you don't have the content. And what do I mean by that? For example, here now, assuming you have a box where the user can type their to do, and once they press enter, you are going to create this list here. You know that you are going to create a list, but you don't know the actual content that you want to display because the user will be the one that will impute the content, not that you be the one that you be the one that have to list everything out from the HTML. You know the structure that this thing is going to follow, so you've done with the styling and everything, but you can't just display anything anyhow on the screen because user have to type. So if you are giving an application where I need to list out all my to-dos, there's no way you know ahead that these are the to-dos that I want to do are there. So but you have to code it down that anytime someone enters something here, this stuff have to pop out. Not that it's going to be here like this by default. It's when the user type that this thing will come outside. And that's where this one comes in here, which is creating and adding element to the screen. Because if you don't know the actual content you want to put there until the user type, then you have to wait for them to type first before you can generate the element on the fly and now add it to the screen. So and that's the reason why we have this item here. So you should be able to create the element from JavaScript, and once you are done creating the element, you should be able to add the element to the screen there. And that's where this one comes in there. So how do you create element in JavaScript? I've explained how to create element. So to create element is just by calling this document, then followed by this method, which is this create element. And whatever stuff you pass inside it is going to create the element for you. But don't forget, you need to pass a valid element. And here now, what are we creating? We are creating a p tag. So it's going to create the p tag for us, but it's not going to add it to the screen because there's no way JavaScript will know where you want to add the element on the screen. So you need to instruct it that, okay, once this element is created and all this content and inside it, this is where I want you to put it on the screen there. So the first thing you need to do when you want to work with the dynamic content, that means the one that you are generating from JavaScript, not the one that you have here already. Because all this one, they are just static. You already have them. So once you load the page, you are going to see them on the screen. But there are some of them that are going to come in later on based on the action that the user is carrying out on the screen. So for example, if I click on this one, I want another box to appear here. Or I have a button down here. Once I click on it, it will keep generating this box for me. So the box is on here right now, but it's when the user click on the button that is going to generate the element. So generate the element on the fly. And how do you do that? So to create the element, you need this one here. So this is what you need on the document. So it is going to generate the element for you, and you can now put anything that you want to put inside the element. But as you are putting something in there, you are not going to see it on the screen because it's only creating the element for you, which is inside JavaScript. So you need to instruct it that you want to place this element somewhere on the page. And how do you talk to it that you want to place this in somewhere? So that's where I have this append child, and we have this append. So what are these things doing there? So once you have the element, you can add this particular element that you created from JavaScript inside a particular element that you have on the screen. Because anytime you want to put this in somewhere on the screen, you must place it in something that is already inside your page, like something you can see already here on the screen. So if I want, I can place it here, there inside this box. So anytime I generate that p tag, I'll put the content, and once the content is there, then it will appear inside this place. But what am I pointing out to this place? Because of the way append work. So when you're using append child, what it's going to do is that it will add it to the list of all the items that is inside that parent. For example, here now, look at the content we have on this page. So let me go down to that place where we have this grid system. As you can see, I have all these items here. And if I close everything, so look at it. Inside this container, I have all these items. So now, if you now want to append this particular element inside it, what it's going to do is that it will go down to the last item, then it will press enter just like this one, and it will add whatever you are appending inside. This is what we call append here. Append will add the item to the end of whatever that is inside the element where you want to put it. But if you look at it currently right now, I'm using body, and that's the reason why that day the content is being added to the end of what is here. But I don't want it to be here. So what we are going to do now, we're going to target this element, and from there we're going to add it. Because anytime you have the element where you want to put the content, is always going to put it at the end of whatever that it will not clear. You know, when we are using that inner HTML or inner text, it will wipe everything that is there before, now replace it. But this one doesn't wipe anything. It will only add it to the list of whatever that is there before, and it always putting it at the end of everything. But there is a way of telling you that you want to put it here or you want to put it anywhere here, but the one we're going to focus on is the one that adds to the end of the list there, because that's the major one that you always be using like that. So, and how do we do this thing? You know, when you want to add the element on the screen, you need to have something that is already there. And since we have this one there already, this grid container here, so we're going to target it in our JavaScript. Then this p tag here, we add it to the list of items. Or I'm not even going to use this p tag. What I'm going to do is to generate something like this, to generate these items later on there, like that. So let me start with this. So let's start with the simple one. So here I'm going to comment out this. So the first thing we need to do when you want to append, you need to have the element. And anytime you are doing append, you are only doing it for the element that you generate from JavaScript, not something that you already have here like that. Except if you want to be doing, because that element is already on the screen. Why do you need to append it to another place? But any element that you are generating from JavaScript is not going to appear on the screen. So the first thing you need to do, the first thing we need to do here is to get the element. So because I'm going to create a button, I'm calling it btn because it's my variable, so I can call it anything that I want. And which element do I want to create here? So it's going to be document and create element. And what's the name of the element? Just supply the name of the element. Just like the way you used to create this here, that same way this one too is going to generate for you. But you are doing it directly from JavaScript. So if you want to do it from HTML, you know the way you do it, instead of having this thing, what you do is to type button like this. So button, this is what this line is doing. This line is doing the same thing as what you are doing here. But this is how you do it from the HTML, and this is how you do it from JavaScript. So this one is going to generate empty button like this. As you can see, nothing is inside it. So if you want to put something inside it, then you can use what we discussed about last time, which is modifying the content of the element. So here now, if I want the text to be there, maybe submit like this. So the same thing here, if you want to do it from JavaScript, you know, you already have the button here inside this btn. So what we can just do is btn.inner text or inner HTML or any one of them that you want to use. And here I'm going to have submit. So this single line that you have here is what JavaScript here is doing. So this is how you do it in JavaScript, and this is how you do it from your normal HTML. You can see it's kind of as simple, like it's kind of easier here to do compared to what you are doing here. But it's not only possible that you generate all your elements from HTML. Some of them have to come from here based on what I explained here. They're like that. So you want you to be an application for user where they can input all their tags for a day. No, there's no way you know ahead that this is the tax that the user want to work on. Is when they type inside the box that the thing is going to generate it for them. So what do? Once they type here, you receive the content that they type. Then based on that content, you generate the element. And how do you generate the element from JavaScript? To generate element is by using this document, followed by dot, then followed by create element. And inside it, you supply the element that you want to create there. And once you do this, it's going to give you empty element, which means the element will not have anything inside it. So in order for you to put content there, we can quickly use this our inner text or inner HTML or text content, depending on the one you want to use here. And once you have the content there, because if I save this one and you see that nothing will happen, you won't see anything. It has already created the element and that content is there, but it's not on the screen. So in order for you to see that element on the screen, you need to add it somewhere here, anywhere, like anywhere you want it to appear, whether it is inside this one or somewhere here on the screen. So you have to target where you want to put it. And where did I want to put it? I want to put it inside this red box. And since I want to put it inside this red box, this is an element. So I need to target that element too from JavaScript. And by now, you know how to target element from HTML there. So whatever element you already have inside your HTML and you want to target it from JavaScript, you already know how to do that one. So what we can just do here, I will call it const box. So you can call it anything. This is a variable. So you can call it anything that you want. So it's going to be document and query selector. What am I looking for? So I will use the name of it, which is this grid container like that. Or I can use Moji, but there's another place that I'm using Moji. So I don't want this thing to select that one for me. So I know that this is only one that have this grid container on the page, and it's going to give me the element. So now this box, we have access to it, which is going to be this div here. And this btn, this is what we are generating directly from JavaScript, and we put this text inside it. And what do we want to do? We want to add this button inside this box. But how do you add it? You can use this append child. So what you just need to do is a box, then append child. Which child do you want to put inside it? This is going to be this btn. And what this thing is going to do is that it will locate this element, which is box, inside your HTML. And once you see that element, then it will now add this button inside it. And where is it going to add it? Anytime you are calling this append, it will add it to the end of the list, not at the middle or not at the start there. It will always add it to the end. It will be the last one on the list. Because currently here, before I save it, you see that what we have there is just the Z that is here, which is the Z. But by the time we save it, you now see that the button will now be added to this place, because that's going to be the last one. It will not replace anything that is there before. It will just add to the list of whatever you have there before. But don't forget, if you are using inner HTML or inner whatever stuff, it will wipe everything that is there, and that's the one we are not using. And again too, you cannot use inner HTML or inner text when you are dealing with element that you created from, like an element that you generated from JavaScript directly. You can't just use inner HTML or whatever stuff to add it on the page. You have to use this append child to add it to the list there, like that. I'm coming. Okay, so what is it going to do here? We have the box. We've targeted this element here, and it's going to append. Just like append, it's only adding it to the end. So now if I save this one and go back to the page, and once this thing loads like that, you see that the button is now appearing at the end of the content. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
So can you see now that the button is now part of the list? It's not removing what is there before. It's going to add it to the list. But where is it going to add it? It's always going to add it at the end of whatever that is there before. So not here or somewhere here. You can actually tell it that you want to add it at the top here, or you want to add it at the end, or you want to add it outside of the box, or before entering the box. So all those one, you can do them, but the major one that you always use is this append here, which only add it to the end of the list. It doesn't add it anywhere. It's always going to be at the end of the box. Again, you are going to generate the element from JavaScript. You put whatever you want to put inside it, because if I don't use this line, you will not see anything inside the button, because it doesn't give you any content. As you can see, no content will be there. You only have the element. you will not have any content inside that whatever element you are generating there. So in order for us to have something there, that's why I'm using this button text. You can put anything you want like that. So if I put Sam like this and go back to the page, you see that the content is going to put there inside the box. And after we generated this box, the next or this button, the next thing we need to do is to put it somewhere on the page. So where do you want to put it? You need to know the element that is going to be hosting that particular dynamic content. So once you know the element, select it and you append. But don't forget, append always add to the end of the list. It doesn't add to the top or to the middle. It always goes to the end of whatever that is there before. So yeah, I can generate another element again and I will still append it inside this one. For example, here, I can just come down again. So create another one. So what can we create? So I'll just say create const box, or let me just call it small box. And this one is going to be document. Then no, we are not query, we are creating. So create element because all these ones are there. And what I want to create there is a div element. So in order for this thing to display content, we need to update its content. So I'm going to call this small box because after the element has been generated for you, there you have access to that element and you can do whatever you want. But as you are doing something with it, you will never see it on the page. So in order for you to see it on the page, you must append it somewhere or add it to any element on the page. So yeah, I'm going to use my inner HTML there. And what do I want to do? So B, I've explained all this thing. Anytime you're using inner HTML, whatever the tag that you put inside your code is going to interpret it. So if I use ABD like this and R just to represent that this one is outside of that B. So if I save it, you will never see anything on the screen. It will all those two lines, but you never see anything on the screen like that. Doesn't add it to the screen. So in order for that thing to show on the screen, we need to target the parent where you want to put it. So if you want to put it inside this grid container again, then we can go back to that page. And the same way we did for this btn, so what we can just do is to call the box again, and we use append. The way you're appending them here, that same way is going to appear on that screen there. So here I can now append this small box. And if I save it now, first it will add this btn, then followed by small box. Because the way you arrange it here, that's the same way it will add it there. So which means here we're going to have the small box, and next we're going to have the, and as you can see, the stuff has already interpreted our B tag that is inside that inner HTML. Don't forget, I've explained all this thing before. So if you use inner HTML, it interpret any HTML tag that you put there. And if you use inner text, it will not interpret anything. It will just output it the way you type it there, like that. But what if, so instead of us adding them one by one like this, we can actually add it at a go with this append. So this append allows you to add multiple elements at once. Here now, we have these two elements and we want to add it into that box. What do you have to do? We have to call append 2 times. But instead of calling append 2 times here, you can just call append and you add the 2 elements at once. So instead of you doing it in on 2 lines like this, what we can just do is the box. So we can do box, then append, then we just pass them like this. So with append, it allows you to pass multiple items inside it that you want to append by typing small box. So with this append, you can just do it on 1 line. So instead of us calling this in on 2 lines or 3 lines, 4 lines, depending on the number of elements you're adding there, you can actually use this append. But most of the time, I always use append child like that. So, but if you need to add multiple elements at the same time, because you are going to be generating a lot of elements from JavaScript, and you need to put one inside another element there. So you can quickly use this append to just add all of them to the list. So at once, instead of you calling append child, append child, append child on a separate line. So with append, it's going to add all of them. And as you can see, we're having the same result there. But don't forget the other matters. The one you call last will always be the last one on the list. So if I switch the order, it means what we are going to display last is a button, even though it's the one that we're creating first, but that doesn't mean it's the one that will appear first. So it all depends on what you are doing. You are the one in charge. With JavaScript, you are the one in charge. You can do anything you want. So as you can see, the Sam is now the last item on the list. So this thing doesn't care It only follow what you are doing here. Since I'm calling this BTN last, that's going to be the last one. Depending on whatever you want to do. And again, let me do this one and so like that. And if I save it, go back to the screen, is and one this thing is downloading like that. And as you can see, I'm not seeing it. Why am I not seeing it? Because you're repeating yourself like that, because it's the same element. And that's why you see that I have to generate this particular small box. So, I call BTN, BTN, BTN. This thing is smart. This BTN is still the same thing here. You see the same thing here, and it's still the same element. Why do you want to repeat them? So, as you can see, it's not working. So, but for now, this is not the major thing. The major stuff here is that you can generate element from JavaScript and you're adding it to the page. And you can use this thing to do a lot of magic stuff later on. Just like the way I mentioned it. The user will type something from the box, but based on what they are typing, you are generating this list out for them. So what do you do? Then it's still the same process. The first thing is that we get the input that the user is typing. After getting the input, we generate a radio button. When we generate the radio button, we give it this label based on what the user type. And after we put everything together, then we now add it to the screen where we want it to appear, which is something we can quickly do like this. But now we are not depending on the user typing, so we are just doing it by ourselves. So first, where do we want to add it? So you need to know where you want to add this content. So I'm not going to add it inside this box again. I will just add it. I will add it somewhere. Where did I have the form? I think I have form somewhere here. So where is the form? We have the, okay, this is the form. So this is it here. So currently here we have this radio. Look at them here. So we have this input of type radio, which is having front end developer, back end developer, project manager, content writer here, and UI UX designer. But this UI UX designer here, I don't want to do it like this. I want to create it directly from JavaScript and add it to the list. Because now if I save the code and go back to the page, you are going to see that there is like a UI UX on the screen again. But we want to do it from JavaScript. You see the same step that you are going to follow like that. So the first thing we need to do, generate the element, put whatever content you want to put inside it, and once you are done, add it to the page there. And how do you add it to the page? You need to have the parent that is already, whenever you want to add it, it needs to be on the page if you want it to appear. So if you add it to another element that is inside JavaScript, it will be there, but you will not see it on the page there like that. So what do we need to do? So the first thing we need to do here is to create the element. So create element. So this is the first thing we need to do. And I'm going to call it this const job. So that is my variable. So you can call it anything. Like call it X, call it Y. So I'm going to document create element. What type of element are we creating here? So this one is more complex. So because the way this one works, I need two elements here. I need two elements. So but let's do it. It's just for learning this thing. So the first thing we need to create here is our inputs like this. But that's a problem. So let me skip it for now because what I want to do here now, it requires something here that I've not explained. As you can see, this attribute. But if you look at, you see, we are setting the attribute to radio. But right now you don't know how to set attribute from JavaScript. Because if I create this one now, don't forget, anytime you create input, it will just create the text box for us. But we need to update the attribute of this type to radio. But right now we don't know how to do it until we get to this particular side. Because that's the reason why I say I'm going to explain all this one today. Right? At the end of today's class, you know how to work with attributes, the class, and so forth like that. But let me start with the simple stuff. So I'm not going to create this input, but I will come back into it. So let me move it down. So let me just move it down so that something we're going to work with later on. So I will move it down here. This is going to be part of our class work or like that we're going to work on together. So I'll move it down. So by the time we're done with everything here, we now put everything together to build what we want to do right now. But that thing will not work because I'm not explaining that. I don't want to jump. I want to explain them first before putting them into use it. So instead of me creating input, I'm just going to create a p tag just to represent the stuff. So after creating the p tag, what do we need? So I'm going to have this job. then dot inner HTML like this is going to be UI UX. So we are creating the fake one right now because it's not going to show the radio stuff. So UI UX designer. So after getting this stuff, we need to add it somewhere here. And where do we want to add it? As you can see, it's going to add it inside the form. But you know, if you target this form, it will add it to the end of the form. So this is where it's going to add it. Because anytime you use append, it always go to the end before the closing tag and it will add it there. But where do we want to add it? We want to add it here. So one trick you can do here is to put all this one too in their own parent. So one trick that we can do here is to just move all these things. So I'm going to create a div with jobs like this. Now instead of me targeting form, what I will now target is this div here. Now if you target this div, it means the end is going to be here instead of what we have like this. Hello?
Yeah.
Because I know that the thing don't dey scatter your head like that. So look at it. We have these elements from JavaScript here, which is this dog. This thing is just going to be on the page until you add it somewhere there. And what do we want to do? We want to add it to the list of all these job here. Look at it, this radio that we have there. So since we want this thing to be at the end of this project manager, you can't work from the form. If you work on the form, this is the end of the form. So anytime you're using append, it always go to the end of the list. And if you check the form, this is where it's starting from, and the end of it is here. So this is where it's going to add whatever you're doing there. If you do it on the form, but this is not where we want it to be. We want it to be on this side, like we want it to be under project manager. And since we want it to be under project manager, that's why I'm grouping them so that I can select this parent and not this form that is here. So if I select this parent here, it means it will be seeing this one as the end because this is the end of the div. And since it's the end, then that means it's going to be where it's going to add the contents. I like that. I hope you get it now. I want to add it here. So now that means we need to target this div in our JavaScript. And how do you target? You know that one already. So I don't even need to be. So I'm going to append the element, and the first thing you need to do here, this is not the element that you need to select. So the element we need to select is jobs. So as you can see, I have query selector here that is looking for the element based on the class. As you can see, I'm using, because whatever you be doing here is based on what is already on your page. So when you are targeting any element, you have to look at the way the element is structured. Then you pick it, you use any of the selector that we've talked about there, like get element by ID, query selector, or get element by class name and all those things. But I told you that I always use this one because it's kind of close to the way you work with CSS, because it's kind of easier compared to other one there. And what am I doing here? I'm selecting this element. And what's the element? As you can see, so it's going to target this element here because this is the div that have that particular class job. And once you select this element, what are we doing? We are appending this particular p tag that we created here inside it. But don't forget the way, not append charge. So the way this append charge works is that it will go to the parent. Where is the parent? This is the parent here. So once we get to this parent, what it's going to do is that it will look at everything that is inside it and keep skipping each one of them until it gets to the last line. So when you get to the last line before the closing tag, that's when it's not going to put the content that you are appending inside that particular element. So what is going to happen here is that create the element here, which is P. We add this text inside it. Then after doing this, we select this our container. What is the container? This is this div. So inside this container, we are now placing the job there. But you know that anytime you are using this append, it doesn't add it to the top, the second, third, fourth, and so forth. Like it always go to the end of the list. That means before the closing tag of that element there, it will now insert whatever content that you append inside it. So which means if you save this code now, if you save the HTML and the JavaScript, you are going to say that it's going to add a stuff here, which is going to be this UI UX to the list of what we have there. It doesn't need to be of the same whatever. The JavaScript doesn't care whether you're adding input or P or anything. Its own job is just to put the element where you want it to be. It doesn't care whether they are the same element or not. The job of append is to go to this element here, then add this one to the end of whatever that is there before. So here, if you look at the HTML, what we have right now is these three inputs with this front end developer, back end, and this project manager. So now we are adding this one to the list. So it will not remove whatever that is there before, it will add the new one to the end of the list. So which means it will come to this div, go to the end of it, and it will append this one there like that. And if I save this one now, you see that we are going to have the P on that same line. Can you see here now? Where did I have content writer? Where is the content writer? Oh, I did not add that one. I will make this content writer. It's outside of it's supposed to be part of the list. So if I save it now, you see that it's going to add it to the end because they only add it to the end. And as you can see, it's now part, but it doesn't add it to the starting point of that box or to the middle. It always at the end. Anytime you use append, it always take it to the end. And that's the reason why you see that I have to group them in a container so that I can add it to the list here. So normally if you select the form will never put it here. It will take it to the end of this side here because this is where the form is ending. So append always go to the end of whatever the element that you targeted. So it doesn't add it to the middle or anywhere else. It's always at the end. So if you wanted to add it to a particular side and you know that your element is not following that pattern, then you have to rearrange your element so that you'll be able to do whatever this thing is going to do. That's why you see that I have to group these inputs together so that we'll be able to add to the list there. Because if I don't group them, there's no way I will be able to add to this list here like that. So and that's how this thing works. So you can add
Okay,
one
so for
element.
this,
Yeah.
you put an open space here. So what if you don't put the space? Will it not still?
Was nothing. This one is I'm just using it to explain now. I'm just using that one to explain. No, this thing is not dealing with your space. Whether you add it or you don't add it, doesn't Jamasi doesn't care. It will add your content there. It will create its own space at the end. I'm just using that one to explain what is end. That's why I press enter to say that okay, this is where it's going to be.
Okay,
That space is representing
okay,
where that element is going to be. It doesn't care about your space, whether you put it space or you don't put space.
okay.
It's always going to add it before the closing tag that is here. Like that. So
So
we're only looking
what
at
if
it.
you want to have it at the middle of the back end? You want to put the UI at the middle
That's why I'm saying I've
from
said
the
you can use append to do it. And if you look at this JavaScript here, I put some other items here. So you have to use all these other methods that I put here. Can you see that there's some other method you can use? Yeah. That's why I say insert element at what? A specific place. This one doesn't insert as a specific, it always at the end. It doesn't allow you to put anywhere you want. It always at the end. It doesn't care. It's always going to go to the end. So end. You can't take it up, you can't take it to the middle or anywhere. And even when you're using all this one too, they have the method. As you can see, there is where. So the where too is static. You can't just add it anyhow like that. So anytime you want to add things, you must arrange. That's why I said this your structure from HTML is very important because the structure here will determine the way you are going to do a lot of things. Whether you are dealing with CSS or you are dealing with JavaScript, the structure always matter, and that's why you see that I have to create another element there so that it can make that structure look like the way I want this thing to behave. Because if I don't add this one, it will never work, and you will why is it not going there? It will never go there because that's the concept of this append. It always go to the end of the parent. It doesn't care about any other place. It's always at the end. So which means if anywhere you want it to be, you have to arrange your HTML in a way that will make that thing to be at that place that you're expecting it to be. So JavaScript will not do it for you. You are the one in charge of everything. So you have to arrange them so that the JavaScript can put it where it needs to be there, like that. But if I don't do it, then you see that it will not work. So you need to do it correctly there. But I won't be going into all this one for now. The one that can allow you to put it in different places because this append is what you need. So all this one I don't even work with them. What I normally work with is append child. But later on, when we are working on an application that requires them, then I will come back into them because the major one you need right now is just this append. But I will leave this one here for now. Then when we need it later on, I will come back to it because it's not the major, they're not the major thing right now. The major stuff here is this append or append child. But later on, when we're working on a simple application that requires them, you see that we're going, because we need it. We need all this. Because for example, now as the user is creating from a list, what if you wanted to add it to the top, not to the end? Because you know it's better you add the new stuff to the top rather than adding it to the end of the list. So I will bring them that time when we are working on this application, because we are going to work on an application that as the user type, once they type and press enter, we add to the list of what is on the page there to put everything together that we've learned there like that, because we start simple then we start going up like that. So append is very, very important like that, because if you don't use it, there's no way you are going to add the content that you are generating from JavaScript there like that, because it doesn't add anything to the page. So apart from adding content to the screen, what if you want to modify the style of the element that is already on the screen? Because you might want to do something. For example, here now, you are going to see how to do this one later on. So let me do some magic here. Let me quickly do one simple magic. It's not that much. It's just a simple. Oh, it's not even magic, sef. It's just simple stuff. Like that. Where is this thing now? Okay, I've seen it. So let me select the element so that you can, so that you understand what I'm trying to say here. Like that. So I have this document, then query selector, command sign, and document. So we have this document, then I have this testing. So I'm selecting this element. But you know what is this add event listener tomorrow? This is what you're going to learn tomorrow. There like that. So just I'm bringing it for you to see what is going on right now. So what is going on right now, so that I can have the test. See what I'm not using now. So and I have the left should just be 30 uh, 30px like this, and e dot target. You know what all these targets is doing tomorrow, but the one we are focusing on today is that style. So again, I'm going to have this button, which is going to be, let me say 6 here, like this. And what am I doing here? So I want this thing to happen when I click on it. So that's the reason why I'm adding some of it, because I don't want this thing to just happen instantly. Now, anything you are doing here, before you get to the page, it will have already leave, unless I put the two of them side by side. But I want you to see it, what I'm doing here. So what am I doing here? So this element of target, you can just think it as a whatever element, this element. This is the element I'm targeting here. This element, as you can see, by now you know the query selector. So I'm selecting the element, but I'm doing some stuff here, which is to add events. So which means I only want this thing to occur anytime this particular event happen on the screen. But you know more about the event tomorrow there. But the major thing I'm focusing on is this style here, which is what I have here. So anytime you have elements, you can actually use this style property on it. And this style property come with all this your CSS property that you know about. Because if I go to CSS, as you can see, we can do position, we can do gap, we can do display, you can use background color and all this. So the same thing that you are doing from your CSS here, you can do everything from JavaScript. So JavaScript allows you to manipulate the style on your element. Just that the way you do it is quite different from the way you are doing it from, just like here too, when you want to create element, the way we are creating it here is quite different from the way we are doing it from JavaScript. Again, here too, whatever you used to do with your CSS, you can do it from JavaScript too. JavaScript really power, like it have the power to control HTML and CSS. And one of the things is giving us, one of the simple stuff is giving us is this style here on your element. So you can have your element, and on the element, you can call the style. Then the style too, you change whatever properties you want on that element. Before I use the one that is down here, so that you see down there. So let me just target the element up here first. So let me target the element. So we are going to call it element like this. And here, okay, element is just going to be this, so that I don't need to select it again. And here, I don't even need to use all this target again. So what I just need to use is this element. Then what is target? You know all these things tomorrow. So like that. So let me comment out this one. I will bring it out later on. And from here, what I just want to do is this element, then the style. Currently, what is the element we are targeting, so that you know what is going on. So the element I want to target is this. Can you see the text? So look at the background. Can you see what just happened now? As I click on it, something happened, but I don't want to click on it. So because of the code, look at where it is. Look at where it is. So look at the content, look at the background. So this background here, I want to change it from JavaScript. So instead of it to have this particular background, I want to change it to red or any other background. So how do you do it? So to modify the style of your element from JavaScript, you are going to use this style property. Then on this style property, you mention whatever CSS you want to change on the element. So what do we say we want to change? We want to change, first change, let's start with the color. So I want to change the color. Then you set it to whatever stuff. But look at the way we are doing it here. So this line that I'm doing here, we see the same thing as what CSS is doing here. Where's the color? I did not change the color, sha. So let me change the color to something missing. So I'm just going to use color to just be whatever. Okay, what can I use? Let me use red here. So look at this line. You know, here I'm selecting this particular testing, which is inside position, and I'm changing its color to what? Red. So this line that you are seeing here is what JavaScript is doing here. So I can change the color now back to or maybe blue like this. You know, the stuff is going to start with red. So if I save it without saving a JavaScript, if we go back to the page, you are going to see that the color is red. But from JavaScript, I want to modify the color. And how do you do it? So to modify any CSS property on your element, the basic way of doing it is by calling this style, then followed by the property that you want to change. So if you look at the CSS, what's the name of the property? Color. So but look at the way we are doing it from CSS. We type the property, followed by colon, and followed by value. But if you are doing it from JavaScript, this is how it's going to be. You can't use colon here. So what you have to do is element followed by dots, followed by style, then followed by that property that you want to modify. And the property you want to modify is color. Then you set it into, and as you can see, this one too is inside a quote. So the way you do things here is quite different from the way you do in the normal language. Now when you want to create the element from JavaScript, what do? We use this create element, we pass the element in a quote. But you know, if you want to do it normally, just type your element in the HTML and you are good to go. So you don't do it like that here because this is JavaScript, this is another language, and the way you do things here is quite different from the way you do it in those languages. So when you want to change the stuff, start with the element that you target there, whether it's something that you are creating from here or it's something that you already have on the page. Followed by the style, then followed by the property that you want to modify. And here, the color from the CSS is red, but JavaScript have the power to manipulate anything on your page. So now if I save it and go back to the page, and once this thing is done reloading there like that, you see that the color is going to change from what is there from CSS and is going to change to what we have here. And I'm not saying it, I'm not saying. See these things, yeah. The thing is not want to save. So now if I go back to the page, once this thing is done now, you see that it's going to change. Can you see now? It will change. So with JavaScript now, you can modify the HTML, you can modify the CSS. So with this power, you can now do a lot of magic. One of the magic here is that I want to do is that anytime I click on this element, I want it to change in its position. And what am I doing here? As you can see what I'm doing, I'm just updating the left and the bottom property. If you check the CSS, if you look at it, can you see the value for the left? It is 50%. Then the value of bottom, it is 1 area. But I can manipulate this value from JavaScript. And that's what I'm trying to do on this line. But I am not just doing
Sir,
the whole thing.
please, what's the left on the CSS? Like, I see left.
That's why I said you should go and read about this positioning in CSS. So once you read it, you know what is there like that.
Okay,
I can come back into that one later on. That's why you can see that it's part of what this one was not there. This content are not there before. So I just added this one today based on, but right now I don't have time for them. So when the time comes, I'll come back into them. But these are the stuff, the properties that we have there. That design that I show, can you see that this thing look like it? It look like that design. So you can move this element anywhere you want. It's because of the positioning property that I'm using on the element. As you can see, it is positioned here. So once you position, we have different type of position, and depending on that type of position, this thing too will work based on that. All this your left, right, top, and that is why I put them out there. They are known as offsets. So we have the top, the right, the bottom, and the left. And these insets, all of them work together like that. So inset is the way of just changing all of them at once without typing them on a separate line. So inset will just like your padding, that you can use it to change all of them at once. So this one too, you can use inset to change all these values at once on one line. Because right now, as you can see, they are on two lines with different names. But with inset, I can just do it on one line there, like that. So that's what is it. But for now, forget about that one. I'll come back into it when I'm talking about positioning. But yeah, now what I want to do is that anytime this button is clicked, because I don't just want you like after I save here and go to the page, it already moved to that place. No, it's only when I click on the button that is going to move the stuff. And that's the reason why we need events. But I will explain event better tomorrow day. And what is this event doing here? So what this thing is doing is that anytime I click on the element, I want to change its left from whatever it is before to 30px. And whatever the bottom too is before, I want to change it to 6rem. So currently, the element here is having what? The left is 50%, while the bottom is 1rem. But from JavaScript, once the box is clicked, I'm changing the left to 30 pixels, and I'm changing the bottom to this 6rem. But I want the things to smooth. I don't just want it to jump. So I need to use this transition because I want the thing to just smooth out so that you can see that it's actually moving in a smooth way. Not that because it will just jump, but I don't want it to jump, so I need to transition the stuff. And which property I want to transition here. So the left, which is going to take 1 second so that you can see it. So again, too, anytime the bottom too is changing, it's going to take 1 second like this. So now if I save it and go back to the page, so now click, I have not saved. Have I saved? Yeah, I've saved the code. So now let me go back to the page, and if I click on the box, can you see it will now, because from JavaScript we update is the value of left and the value of bottom. Now I said the left should go to 30. Before the left is around 40 something, or what is there before? The left is just 50 or so. Yeah, it's 50%. So which means when this thing starts, the left of it is going to be at the center of the box, like that. So if I reload, can you see the left is at the 50%, while the bottom, which is the bottom of it, it has 1rem. But as I said, when this element is clicked from JavaScript, I'm updating its left to 30px and I'm updating its bottom to 6rem. So JavaScript has the power to manipulate the property, the CSS property that you have on your element. And in order for you to do it, you are going to use element followed by style, then followed by whatever property you want to manipulate. If I want to, I can change the color too. So anytime the stuff is clicked, the color that is there before, I want to change it to another color. So how do you, but now this one is different. The way you type background color in CSS is not the same way you type it here, because here you cannot use iPhone. Here when you want to do it from CSS, this is how you do it. Color, then you set it to whatever color you want. Can you see that it's complaining? But this one doesn't know. The iPhone here, we are using it for something else in JavaScript, which is minus, which is what I've talked about when we are dealing with arithmetic operator. When you want to subtract, this is what you use. So it's thinking you are trying to subtract background from color. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't know where this one is coming from. It doesn't know where this one is coming from. So and again, you are not using dot again. You are confusing the JavaScript like that. That's why it's complaining. So normally the way you do it here, can you see? This is how we do it from from CSS. So any property, this is how it is. So this is a pattern, but everything is always patterns. Any property that used to have a hyphen when you are dealing with it from CSS, you are going to remove it, and the letter that follow that hyphen, you are convert them to uppercase. So which means if I want to type this background hyphen color there like that, what I have to type here is remove this, then you convert the C to uppercase. So the same thing too, if I want to modify is this border radius. So what I have to do here is that I will do, let me give this one color first, blue. What I have to do is that element and the style. What you have to have is a border radius. But it will not work like this because JavaScript will not recognize what you are doing. So I want to return the border radius to one array. So what you do, remove this and replace this one with tag. So that's the pattern that is there. And like that. So which means if you want to do background image, you know that
Yeah,
that
change
takes
the
array.
background color. Change the blue color
So what?
because the text is blue. No, the text is blue, so it might not show. That's why I'm saying that.
This
The
is when
color
you
again
click.
is
It will
blue.
show. It will show. It will look at okay the blue. Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. This blue that I put here. We can change this one
Yeah.
to green. Let's change the text to green. The color is not the major thing, but
Okay.
the stuff that I'm explaining here, because that one is what we focus on those one when we are dealing with a design later on. So it's not the major thing. But once I click on it, as you can see, it will update all those property. Can you look at the border radius too? It's everything just like that one. It did. You see that the left and right, the movement, it take a particular second before it completed. But the other one, they happen like the changes is instant. It's because of what I'm doing from CSS. And that's why you say that I have to put this one here. Because if I don't put this line, all those changes will just happen once. But I'm saying that the left should take 1 second to complete the changes. Then the bottom too should take 1 second to complete. So if I want the border radius too to take a particular seconds to complete, what I can just use here too, border radius, then you specify. So the transition is what you use to take care of changing from one value to another. Because no, this thing is fast, the computer is fast, it will do it instantly. But you don't want it to do it instantly. You want this thing to take a particular number of duration before completing that task. So this is the property that you want this thing to listen for. But instead of me wasting my time like this and mentioning each one of them, I can just say all should just take 1 second to complete. So anytime any one of them is changing, take 1 second to perform that changes. So now if I go back to the page, reload the stuff so that we can go back to the default state that we had before. So if I save it now, as you can see, all of them will take 1 second to complete the transition from one value to another. That one is CSS, so this one is not related to JavaScript at all. This is CSS stuff. But we are able to use JavaScript to change the value from one value to another state of value. Because on your page later on, you want to do something like this. As I click on this, so that this thing is coming out, and as I click on it again, it's removing the element. So I click on the box, it's transitioning it from one place into another place there. But we are still using CSS, but it's coming from JavaScript. But this thing, it's happening like it's not something that is static. It have to wait for us to click before it's perform the action there like that. But the major thing that I'm explaining here is that you can modify the element style. So to modify the element style, start with the element that you're targeting there. Start with the element that you're targeting, followed by the style, then followed by the property. Then you set it to whatever value. But don't forget the value has to be in a code. Even if it is number, just put it in a code because you know some of them you have to put units there, like this px. You can't just come here in JavaScript and you type 30px. This thing doesn't know what is your px. As you can see, it will complain. Because you have to, so in order for this thing to work, you must put it in a code. So any one of them that is not having unit, you can actually type it like a normal number. But if it's having unit, you must put it in a code because JavaScript doesn't understand what is rem. So in order for this thing to work, you need to put it in a code. By the time you now get to the browser knows what to do based on what you are supplying. But JavaScript doesn't know what is going on. But JavaScript is like a bridge in between you and your whatever stuff that you are doing there, like that. 1 hour now. What do we do? So this is how this thing work there. So the next thing that we have, the next one that we have on the list is manipulating the element attributes. Don't forget, there is a task there that we're supposed to work on that we couldn't do it because we don't know how to manipulate. Because if you go back there, you see that we have the form, and this our form, it having some attribute attached to it there, which is this one. So how do we manipulate these attributes from JavaScript? So I want to change this type from radio to another one, or I want to change this name from job to another one. So with this one now, you can work with the attributes. And when you're working with attributes, these are different stuff you can do with it, action that you can carry out. So you can set, that means it's not there before, you want to add, just like the input you want to, we are creating the input, but the attribute we want to put there is something else. So we need to set the stuff. So you can set, if you want to get what is inside it, you can get it, or if you don't need the attribute again on that element, you can delete it. And again, you can check whether that attribute is there or is not there, like that. And we're going to put all this in practice one by one. So don't forget, you are dealing with element. You need to add the element that you want to work with. So yeah, I'm not going to be targeting this testing again. What I'm going to target is this input. And by now you know how to get to this input. We have the job, so I can just use these jobs and the input that is inside it. Don't forget, query selector, even though there's some other one that is there, it only give you the first one. So if you need all of them that is there, you have to use query selector all. By now, I don't even need to be going back to all this one. So if I use element and go back to the page, you see that it's only giving us so you cannot find it here. Oh yeah, I type job instead of jobs. It's having S. Look at it, having S. So if I go back to the page, as you can see, we have the input, and if I scroll down, there is kind of give us this front end developer like that. It's giving us one, but if you need all of them, you need to put all here, because when you are working later on, that sometimes you need all, and that sometimes you only need the first one or any one of them. You are going to see how to handle it. But when you need the first one, or if you need all of them, so you can use query selector or query selector all. So this all is not just give you the first one it can find it, it will give you all of them. As you can see, is returning 4. So inside that place, you can find 4. Can you see all of them one by one? So this is the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. But I don't want all of them. I only need the first one. So why do I need to use this all? So that's why I'm using query selector. It will ignore the other one. It will only pick the first one it can find and stop there and return that one for you. And that is why you see that we are getting the first one. But what do we want to do on this first one? So let me expand this thing very well, because you need to see what is going on the element there. So what do we want to do? So let me go to the page and let us go to where we have this element itself. So where is the form? Okay, this is the form, and this is the div. And if you look at it, what do we have here? What attribute do we have? We have the type attribute and we have the name attribute. So you can add attributes that is not there, or you can remove the attribute that is there before. That's what this one or these two are doing. So we have the set and we have this delete. Or if you already have the attribute, you want to get the value that is inside it, then that's where this one comes in there, like that, which is what we have there. So we have the get. So let me just move this thing side by side so that we can see what is going on there, like that. So I'm going to move them side by side like this. Then I need to reduce the screen, then reduce this one too. Okay, let me reduce this one so that we can be seeing this in live. I don't need to start changing from one application to another one before. So what do we want to do? So what we want to do here, let me move this one to this side so that we only have one window instead of having two windows. So go back to our JavaScript. So yeah, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
So we have the element. This is the first one we are dealing with, because we know that that's the first one that we selected here. So what do we want to do? We want to set attributes. So to set attributes, you can use this functionality here, where you are going to have element, then followed by dot set attribute. So what is the name of attribute? Here now the name is type, and what is the value of the attribute? The value is radio. So here now the name is name and the value is job. So whatever element you want to work with, can you see here too? So this attribute is placeholder, while the value is first name. So you can give any of your element attributes. You can remove or you can get what is here by using any of this functionality. So let's start with this set that we have there. So here I want to do my element, then set attribute like that. Which attribute do I want to set? What I just want to do is that I want to set emoji, but you can give it anything. JavaScript doesn't care. Just give it the name and the value that you want to put in, and what is going to be the value at the Rakib. So now if I save it and we get back to the page, you see that the element, so if you go back there to that element, so open the form, then go to the div. Can you see now? So on this element, is that creating what? Attribute moji with a value of what? Abdul Rakib. So this is nothing care, but you always set correct attribute. Not that you'll be setting it like that. I'm just using this one to explain the functionality of the set attribute. So the first thing you pass to it is the name of the attribute. There like that. So let me bring out my pen. My pen, my pen, my pen, my pen. My pen, my pen, my pen, my pen. Okay. So I have my pen here. And what do we have? Here. So this one is what is going to use as the name of the attribute. Then whatever you pass as the second stuff here is what is going to use as the value of the attribute. So this is how it works. So set attribute, pass the name of the attribute, then pass the value of the attribute. So that element I want to create that time. So this is what we are supposed to use. Now, first of all, it will generate input element. If you generate the input element, it will not have this type set on it as radio. So we need to change the type from whatever that is there before to the new one, because you can actually use this thing to update what is there before. So I know I use this one to create a new one because it's not there before. That's why it's adding it. But what if you use it for something that is there before? So for example, here we want to use it for type, and we're changing it from that radio to what? Password. So now if I save it and go back to the page, then open the form, go to that div like this. Can you see now? It has already updated the what? The type. So if the stuff is there before, it will update the value. So if the attribute that you want to put there is there before, the only thing to do, it will just update the value. But if it is not there, just like this one, it will create the attribute. So this set is doing two jobs. If it is there before, it will update whatever the value that you are setting there like that. And if it is not there before, then it will create a new one for you. So here now, if I use type 1 instead of type, no, the name are different now. Type 1 is not the same thing as type. So since they are not the same thing and it's not there before, then it's going to create this one. So it will create emoji, and it's going to create type 1 with their value that we pass into them like that. And if I scroll down, go back to our form, enter this div, can you see now the type is still radio, but now it's creating another attribute, which the name is type 1 and the value is what? Password. So because type 1 is not the same thing as type, the name, don't forget, JavaScript is case sensitive and is comparing all these things. So if you see that they are not the same thing, then there's no way to go, it will replace, there's no way type 1 will replace type, and there's no way type will replace type 1. They are not the same name, so they can't replace each other. But if you use something that is already there, then it will update the value to whatever you are passing. So whether the value is the same thing or is not the same thing, it will replace it with whatever you are passing as the new value there like that. But apart from setting, you can get to. So apart from setting the attribute, you can get. So you can see all these things, they just follow English stuff like that. JavaScript is not that, just follow your this thing. And so here you can just get attributes. And which attribute are you looking for? You supply the name. This one now you don't need to supply value. So the value is what you are looking for. Your own is just to supply the name of the attribute that you are looking for. So on this stuff, I'm looking for attribute name. So once you can find it, give me its value. And if I save it here now, go to the console, we are doing the console log, you see that I'm getting what? Can you see? I'm getting the value because that's what is here. So this is it here, and this is the value that is inside the stuff. What if we want to get for that radio? So what we can just do, we pass type, and if I save it and go back again, you see that we are going to get the value of that particular attribute. Can you see now? It's giving us radio because that's what is there. I've already commented that on this one, so that's why it's not showing. But now if I bring them back, you see that on that element, it will still be having all these attributes, but the only one we are looking for is type. So it will give us the value of that particular one that we are looking for there like that. So as you can see, I'm getting radio, but what if I pass type 1? You see that it's going to give me password. So you can get the value of the attributes, and at the same time you can delete any attribute that is here. So for example here, what if I want to delete what is here before? Maybe that type, I don't need it again. I want to remove it. I don't even want to change it to something else. I want to remove it. So to remove any attribute, you can use this remove, still the name, still the same thing. All of them follow the name of what they are doing. Whatever action they are carrying out, that's what is being added to the attribute there. So to remove, you can just do this element then dot remove. You just pass the name of whatever you want to remove attribute. Not just remove, oh, is remove attribute. Then you pass, for example, like type here. So if I save it, you see that the stuff will not be radio again because we remove the type from whatever that needs to be there. No, in order for it to show that circle, it has to be radio. And if it's not radio again, what are you going to see? You are going to see your text as because that's the default one. And you see now it will change. But anytime you don't supply the type, it's always default to text. And that's why you see that it changed. Because in our code, we say we are removing this attribute. And once you remove this attribute, it will remove the radio that is there. And when radio is removed, then it will go back to its original default. Because anytime you type input, this is what is come outside by default. So you can now use the type to change to different one that you are looking for there like that. I don't want this thing to go more than this, so we don't go more than
Now, what is changing? I did not see what's changing.
where are you?
When
Where have you
you delete,
been?
no, when
Where
you
are
delete,
you?
I'm talking about the delete.
Look at it here. Look at this. Can you see that this is no? Which kind of color is this? Can't you look at it? Can you see what is here? What did you see? Radio,
Yeah,
right? Look at this one. What did you see? Are they the same?
the input. No, no.
Yeah, it's because we've deleted the radio that is there now. That's why I changed to this. This is what's supposed to be there. Like that. Or let me go back so that you can see. Or let me bring this thing back. Like that. So go back to the code, comment out that line, like this. Then go back to the screen. You see that what is going to be there will be different. Oh yeah, now what are you loading? Can you see now? Can you see what
The
is?
what happened? Okay, yeah.
You can see the difference. Is the
Yeah,
reason
yeah.
why it's not like this again is because we remove it, because that's the thing that is changing it. This is the attribute. If you check the HTML, the attribute that is said there is radio, which is the type radio. So type, then it's having radio. But what we did here is that we removed this line. That's what that JavaScript did. It's just remove that type radio. Because anytime you supply the value to remove, it will remove that attribute from that element. And that's what it did. And we know when the thing is removed, HTML by default will display a box. Because it must display something when you are calling input. So that's why it goes back to the box. But anytime you don't supply the type, you don't supply this attribute type, it will be default to text. So that's what happened there.
Okay, so understand.
I have to stop here because this thing it will be really large. So I have to stop here. That means I have to join these two together tomorrow. But I can't add. I need to calm down and explain this class because it's very important. We're going to be using it a lot, even more than this attribute self. We're going to be using it a lot later on there. So tomorrow we are going to continue from where we stop there like that. So that will be all for today, and tomorrow the class and event will comes in, and from there you should be able to do something. For example, anytime I click on this text or anytime I click on this checkbox, I want the color to change to red, and if you disable it, then the color will go back to blue. So you can do all this magic using JavaScript. So first of all, this is the magic here. So let me just quickly show it. So what do we need to do? This is input of type checkbox. That's the only one we have on the screen because I don't want this into. So I'm going to have this document and query selector. You always use this in. You cannot run from because you need to whatever that is on the page, you need to target it. And that's usually I explain all this one first. So I'm looking for input. I have type set to check box like this, or if I don't want to use all this crazy selector, I can just use my this. So add event listener. I hope you can use. So anytime it is what was that? So is it click that I want to what is this you're adding here? Why are you adding nonsense? So from here, what did I want to do? So CLG like this. What I just want, because you need to know, so each element here come with their different properties that you can access on them. So what is target? Target is the element. Well, I will explain all this in tomorrow. So I can just do checked like this. I hope I did not type some crazy stuff and I don't need to type because if JavaScript is crazy, you go and do something that you're not supposed to do, you just get error. So let me go to my console. I think I've disabled my error message. So let me bring it back. Now it's here. So if you do anything wrong, we're going to talk about that until later on. Because you must undo error too. And that's why if you go to site, if you do something wrong, like a box will pop up or something will try to tell you that, like inform you, not that your application will crash. The thing will inform you and it still continue with the order flow, not that your application will crash when something happens. So if I click on this, can you see? So this is what I want. So this check now, when it is clicked, as you can see, it will either be true or false. When it is true, it means you are checking the box. That means the thing should check. And when it is false, it means it's not checked. Then I can now use that condition to determine whether to put this in here or not. And where did I want to put it? There. Which kind? I hate this thing. This is now the way this uh Chrome they do this. This edge. Select this thing for me now. Hey, see wahala. So what? Oh, I did not put it. No wonder that it. Can you see now? I was expecting it to select this thing, but it's not selecting it. Why? Because we did not put it inside any element on the screen. So which means you cannot, JavaScript cannot just go there and select it. But well, because it's a normal text, it's not element, and that's why I always tell you that you should put all your stuff inside it. Can you see that we just type all these text? We're not putting them inside any element, and that's why you cannot just target this one. It doesn't know how to target anything that is not element. So yeah, I'm just going to put it in a span so that I can work with it like that. So from JavaScript, I want to do some magic that you're going to see later on like that. So what do we want to do here? So what I just want to do is just small stuff, not big thing. So like that, let me expand it so that I can come out very well. So I have this. So if can you see now that thing we talked about before, I'm not using them now because this is your conditional statement because I want something to happen based on what is going on here. Yes, see all those things that we talked about, they are now coming out now. So all those things, they are not just there for nothing. It's because you'll be using them later on. So if this one is done, what I want to do, so it target then dot next element sibling come aside now. Are you whining me? This is not what I want. I don't want this. Can you see the style that I just talked about? So I just want to change the color just to put what we've talked about today. So the color should be red, but if it's not checked, then the color should be black like this. So if I save it, then go back to the page, and then what do we want to do? Load. I see by default, what is what? Black. But now, if I click on it, can you see? The color is what? Red.
Red. Okay.
When it is not clicked, the
Okay.
color will be black. When it is clicked, the color will be red. So JavaScript is really powerful, but it's not just see, like you can see everything that we talked about, they are coming together to create what you are expecting on the page. Not just that you just keep typing anything and it's all these things that we are talking at the top here that are combining together. Can you see that this one that we talked about today? The only thing that I'm using here that I've not talked about is this next element sibling and this add event listener that I'm using. And this add event listener here will come tomorrow. The next element sibling 2 will come later on when we are talking about transversing the DOM. It's something that's supposed to add to the list, but I don't want to forget about it, so I will bring it later on. But tomorrow, we are going to know about this event listener because you only want this thing to happen when something occurs on the page. So that's what we call event. Everything you are doing on the page, they are generating a particular event. So once you click on something, it generates an event. When you select something, it will generate event. When you right click on something, it will generate event. So when you click on a box or when you select something, it's generating event. So it's not left for you to listen for any of the events that you want to handle. So you know the one I handle, this one is click. So you can then as you are clicking here, it's generating that event. So your own is now to go to JavaScript, tell it that anytime someone click on this element or anytime this event occur, this is what I want you to carry out for me. And that's what I did here. So what I'm saying here is that anytime this element is click, check it if it is checked, like if that thing is checked. So if it is checked, change the element that follows it, the color of it to red. Now can you see the names here? From the names here, you already know what it is. A next element sibling. Sibling means follow. So the element that follow you, because if you look at the arrangement, you know, after the input, the next thing I have is span. Now I'm not targeting the span directly. I'm saying from here, I'm targeting what follows it. So now change the color to this. Like that. So once this thing is click, check it whether that thing is checked, because you know there are two states. Is that it is checked or it's not checked. So I'm now using this one to determine what to do based on that state. So if that state is there, you know, this one return true or false, and you know that's what your if is expecting. It's expecting true or false here. So if it is true, it will do what is here. Then if it's not true, then it will do what is here. That's just it. No magic in this thing. That's why we break them down into their own class so that by the time we're now bringing them together later on, there won't be anything like, what are you doing here? So